would he come back here? Even if he was alive, which he isn't. Wouldn't you want to get as far away from here as possible, as far away from you?
Very excited to chat with you both for Terrifier 3. I watched it earlier and it was such a visceral experience from start to finish, but also a really fun expansion of this franchise. Lauren, if you'd like to start, and then David. Obviously, Damien's had sort of these plans already in the works from the second movie, but what was it like when you saw the script and saw what was going to be happening with your characters in this film?
I was so excited. I couldn't wait to sink my teeth in Sienna's mental state. I mean, I do think that trauma can be a bit of a trope in horror films, especially with your surviving character. But I think that we've taken her to places that I haven't really seen before. Dave has said to me, and I really love how he puts it, that he likes to see Sienna like teetering at the edge of madness. And I really have to agree when I do see that. I think that it was very fun to do the research and discover how she would be feeling 5 years later and how she would interact, especially with her brother, how they kind of swapped places in terms of their relationship with art, or how they view art and how art relates to them now. I was just psyched, to put it simply.
Yeah, I was very excited as well. Plus, I just love the idea of doing a Christmas film. I was excited for the new possibilities for fun kill scenes, as well as just fun interactions that Art could have with the public in this one. That's especially when I read the script and I saw some of these things I was going to have. I was very stoked. But I think that the moment I was most excited for was the ending, because the first draft of the script, I liked how Damien ended this film, and because it's not one of those happy upbeat endings. It kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and I was really excited for that, because I thought it left both these characters in a very equal state of being, and both in very vulnerable states of being, and that made me very excited, because I feel that that's giving us an interesting place to go going forward into the next film, and a lot of new possibilities that we can explore with these characters, especially Art. I think we can tap more into like his mental state now, because he's lost a lot, and he's actually having to deal with loss, and I'm excited to see what possibilities we can go with him, going forward with him in that next film.
I really do agree with you. I love the way it ends for Art, in the sense of now we actually get to see some emotion from him from a change, other than just glee in the murders. So it's going to be an interesting fourth film for sure. I did want to ask both of you, but I guess David more so than anybody, these movies are obviously very grisly. They are
just a little.
Just a little. And so I'm curious, how do you sort of take yourself, your own mental self out of it when you're filming those scenes? Because they are quite, they feel so real, so many of these sequences. How do you both sort of take yourselves out of it when you're in them?
I think I just have because I know it's fake, and I just know it's not real, and I can disassociate. Plus, also Art is kind of in his mindset. I kind of see him being like a Looney Tune character, so everything is entertaining and fun for him, and so he kind of just views everything. It's like, oh, this is just lollipops and rainbows and fun. So I guess that helps. I do have those moments sometimes where it does sink in what I'm doing. It's usually something I've experienced myself, because I can be a very empathetic person. And so like anytime I see a bone break or something like that, that makes me just, or anything with the eyeball or anything pain I have experienced myself, I flinch at, and I have to go, okay, I just have to power through this.
Yeah, I have a bit of a different experience from Dave, because I luckily don't have to see most of the practicals from the other characters happening around me. That happens when I'm not in the room. But I do have to feel the pain of what's happening to my character and her family members. And I have a very hard time disassociating, because I really, truly, as an actor, like to believe what's happening to me, so it comes off as truthful. And it's so much to the point where, like, I actually sweat profusely in these emotional roles. And I remember saying to Maria, our intimacy coordinator, I was like, I'm so sorry. I feel like I smell right now because like I have been like screaming and crying and all these things. And she was like, your body doesn't know the difference. Like you're putting yourself through stress right now. I know that you know the difference, but your body doesn't. So it takes me a while to decompress when I get back to my room, and I normally can, and especially after cut, I try to just snap out of it as quickly as possible so I can put it behind me. But yeah, it's rough.
I can only imagine, especially like we mentioned, the ending for both, or for especially for Sienna, that must have been a rough one. But I'm glad that you're able to take those steps for yourself. And so you mentioned, by the way, the flip of your dynamic with your brother, and I'd actually love to hear about building a dynamic with your cousin in this film, because it's such a sweet and heartwarming bit. You know, it feels perfect in a Christmas movie, but obviously there's a lot more to it. What is it like developing that with her?
I absolutely love Antonella. And it's cute because we all had our own nicknames for her on set. Damien called her Toes, like Antonella. I called her Nell. Like she was just like absolutely amazing. And her mom would tell me like, she really believes that you guys are best friends. And we really did. We became best friends. And some of my best friends in real life are my cousins. So it wasn't a hard stretch for me to just like fall in love with this little girl. And like we just had such a fun and interesting dynamic. And the unfortunate thing about the cut that you probably saw is there were a lot of scenes between Sienna and Gabby that were cut. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to see that maybe in an extended version, because they do have a lot of interesting moments. And Gabby is so much sharper than she's given credit. Like she just sees things about Sienna that it's almost scary for Sienna to know that, oh, this kid is smart. Like she knows what I'm going through. And I absolutely love that dynamic. And she was just a phenomenal actress. She, again, like could just like, without skipping a beat, could get into the emotional roles. And she floored us all. She was amazing.
Oh, I have to agree there, because I thought I was like mentally scarring this child in the scene where I had the knife up next to her throat, because I mean, she was freaking out so much. And like one of the cuts we had, I just turned like, oh my God, are you okay? And she just turns to me and goes, oh, I'm doing great. I'm like, whoa. And
she was like, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I'm having fun. I'm like, this is great. I was like, wow, because I mean, I was fully believing that she was in like full on panic mode, because I felt icky doing what I was doing to her. And I was like, if you ever feel uncomfortable, please, please, please let me know. I said the same thing to her mother, and her mother's like, oh no, if she's not comfortable with something, she will let you know. It's totally fine. I'm like, okay, I just want you to know that I don't feel right doing this type of thing to a child, but she's fantastic, because I totally believed her.
She really is. And without spoiling it, I really do hope we see her in the next film, because I definitely want to see more of her. And yes, extended cut, please. I want to see more of those scenes. That sounds like a great thing. And David, by the way, I love how you mentioned not wanting to do these things necessarily, but between Terrifier and between the mean one, and now Screamboat, you are really becoming quite the horror legend. How does it feel to really have so many, charismatic in a sense, horror villains under your belt?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm having a lot of fun with these characters. They're all different in their own way, but they're all, like you said, they're very charismatic characters, and it's a lot of fun, because those are my favorite type of villains too. I like either like the villains that are very charismatic and fun to watch, or like the villains that don't realize that they are the villain, where they think they're doing the right thing. And I think that's, I would love to play one of those one of these days too, especially like one of those more intellectual, like, type of villains. So who knows? Like a Hannibal Lecter type of character, that would be a lot of fun. But I love playing villains. I have a lot of fun. I always have more fun playing against my own type of like who I am as a person, because I feel like that way I can really throw myself into something else. And I like to play pretend, so I have fun.
Well, there you go. At least you're having fun with it. And
Yeah.
obviously we're having fun watching it. Lauren, I'll turn back to you. So Sienna, by the way, I loved the costume in the second movie. And I love that it comes back in a way as we see the origin of it. But I know you've talked about how heavy and sort of hard to act in that thing was. Did you at all miss it though when you were coming into this one in terms of when you were going back against Art to not have that powerful uniform on?
No, I didn't miss it at all. I did not for that thing. I think that it made it so, because being covered in blood is so uncomfortable, especially the sticky blood that Damien likes to use. And like that costume, as much as beautiful as it was, and the first time I put it on, I felt so cool and so badass. But like as I had to continue to wear it, it was just so uncomfortable and very hard to move in. So I was psyched to wear like, you know, my baggy jeans and like my Christmas sweater. I was like so happy. I'm psyched.
I can imagine it probably, like you said, it probably made the performance a little easier to sort of get into the headspace. But I hope at some point they can find an easier means for you to wear it and bring it back, because that is a pretty epic costume. I can't deny. So
we'll see if it evolves.
There we go. And so, David, I'll turn back to you. We talked a little bit about wanting to see more from Art's emotional side. And I love that we don't see the little pale girl in this movie. We instead see Art really paired up with the original survivor. And I'm curious, you know, as she's sort of possessed, and what is it like, again, sort of exploring a different dynamic as, you know, because I remember specifically when they get to that decrepit house and she's trying to entertain him and he's just rolling his eyes and walking away. What is it like exploring that dynamic between those two characters in comparison to the little pale girl and Art?
Oh, I really loved it, because that's one thing I've never wanted Art to be a one-note character. I want him to have different layers to him. I still want, even though he has these demonic qualities to him, I still wanted him to be human at some point. So there's something relatable about him to the audience. So I like to be able to show that, yeah, he can get annoyed with things. He can get, you know, disturbed by things or troubled by things. And like I felt at that point, he's just basically coming up from a hangover, and he's just been dealing with this like honking and stuff like that. So he's getting a taste of his own medicine for once in a weird way. And it's just like, he's like, oh God, this is what I do to people. So I like that. I like having those opportunities to explore with him. And I hope in the next film, I really get a lot more of those type of opportunities.
It even something as little as that is such a great moment to, like you say, show a new layer to him that I love. Yeah. So we've talked quite a bit about, you know, the probability of a fourth movie. I know Damien himself has said he's working on it, and I'm curious if either of you have heard sort of updates on where he is with the script or the story, or when you might actually get to start rolling cameras on it.
Oh, I know he hasn't actually started writing the script per se, but he has definitely written down ideas. He definitely has a lot of ideas. And I know, like, this whole entire time, I mean, even before he wrote part 2, we had come up together with where we want to take it, like, for a good ending, we think, for this character. And so I know that's something he's always had in the back of his mind. So he knows where he's building to right now, which is kind of fun. So like who knows how many films that's going to take to get to that point. But I know that he at least has 1, possibly 2 more in him, but that's all up to him. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see where that goes. And so we've talked about wanting more from Art in the next film. And Lauren, what would you like to see from Sienna going into these future films? You know, whether or not it's stuff you've already talked with Damien or just what you want from the character.
I just want to. I threw an idea to Damien recently, and I do have some others that I want to bring up to him. But I just want to continue to see her journey. I want to see how she's able to overcome all of these new obstacles that will be thrown her way. And I guess I can't really say where that'll be, but. Yeah, and I'm curious to see Sienna and Art's interaction now, because as Dave has said, it really does feel like they have a bit more of an equal playing field. He's no longer really being possessed by a magic. It seems like he's back to square one. And it's same with Sienna. She's lost her sword at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see them and how they reconnect and what that will look like.
I'm really excited to see where that goes and see how she grapples with the ending of a certain reveal. I'm trying my best to word it right, but a certain reveal is going to be, I think, a very interesting thing to see in the next film. And so, David, I'll turn back to you. So many kills in this film, and I'm curious if you have a favorite one that you got to sort of partake in that you can talk about without spoilers.
Yeah, it's my favorite kill. It's the kill that reveals how he got Santa Claus costume. I had so much fun because I thought that was such an over-the-top crazy kill, and plus I got to interact with a bunch of actors that I have respected and I kind of idolized in some ways my whole entire life. So I was able to act with these gentlemen as peers, which was very exciting for me. And Damien gave us so much free reign filming this scene to just play around and experiment. So I had a blast doing it. And I think it translates to the scene itself, especially when you see the dynamic between myself and the other actor during the kill scene. We had a lot of fun just bantering back and forth with each other. And I love it. And plus, I think it's a cool kill. We actually wanted to go further with it, but we just didn't have time. And it's like, but I'm very happy with what's on screen.
I love that scene. And it is, like you say, it's nice tongue in cheek while also still being appropriately grisly. So I can't wait for people to see that and the rest of the movie. And I see I'm out of time, so I will get on out of here. But thank you both so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
You take care.
You too.
Who is this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Yeah, he's scaring me too.